It's been nearly a year of hell in the shattered heart of Haiti. A crippling blow to a country that had been crying out for mercy. Families crushed, children left to die. A nation gripped by terror and turmoil.
It's wrong what they did to us.
Now, after an earthquake of biblical proportions,
we don't have a lot of choices.
Craig Kielburger.
This is not a good place to raise a child.
With Mia Farrow.
What is the future for the people?
A journey fraught with danger.
We're gonna have trouble on the streets tonight.
Discoveries glimmering with hope.
It's inspiring.
And disturbing questions after millions around the world sent as much as they could.
Everybody sent something. So, where is it?
This is CTV's W5. Here is Sandy Ronaldo.
Welcome to W5. It's a natural disaster unrivaled in recent times. 1 year ago this month, an earthquake measuring 7 on the Richter scale left Haiti in ruins, and ever since there's been little relief. Instead of rebuilding, the country has been ravaged by a series of calamities, aftershocks, a cholera epidemic, and most recently, violent political turmoil. To many outsiders, the situation looks hopeless, but thankfully not everyone has given up on Haiti. The commitment of one Canadian charity in particular, headed by activist Craig Kielburger, has never wavered. Kielburger has been helping Haiti's children for more than a decade, and he's been doing it with the support of some high-profile friends, people like actress and humanitarian Mia Farrow, who was determined to see for herself the depth of Haiti's agony. Here now, through the eyes of Craig Kielburger, a journey to a forsaken land.
Tuesday, January 12th, 2010. Tragedy strikes. Another terrible blow to this tiny Caribbean nation. A massive earthquake. The epicenter just 25 kilometers from the heart of the nation's capital, Port-au-Prince, home to 3 million of Haiti's 10 million citizens. The damage is overwhelming. Entire neighborhoods left crushed and crumbling. People who have lost everything, out on the streets, begging for help. Just days after the earthquake, I rushed to Haiti, worried about the fate of the children and staff in the orphanages and schools supported by Free the Children. I founded the organization back in the mid-1990s. Since then, we built over 600 schools in 45 developing countries, 11 of those here in Haiti. Everywhere we go, destruction and despair. Almost 250,000 people have died. Another 300,000 are injured. 1.5 million left homeless. Their city and lives in ruin. Tent camps spring up all over the city to house the displaced families. The eyes of the world turn to Haiti. International relief organizations mobilize. Aid starts to pour in.
Tonight, Canada is coming together to raise money for the people of Haiti.
A national telethon raises $13.5 million to help the people of Haiti. Ottawa promises to match those donations and more for a total of $500 million in aid. Now, almost 1 year later, approaching the first anniversary of the quake, we're back in Haiti to see our project sites, to check on the children, to see what, if anything, has changed. Joining me this time, my good friend, the legendary American actress and humanitarian, Mia Farrow. The images flashing around the world of Haiti's suffering are hard enough to watch from afar.
You can't fix it all, but you do what you can.
But Mia has come to see for herself. She is dedicated to helping children. As special ambassador for UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, Mia has seen Haiti in crisis before. She was last here in 2008 after hurricanes devastated the island.
The first time I came, Haiti made such an impact on me. It was after the 4th hurricane had hit Haiti. I thought, I don't really see how things could be much worse. Then came, as we all know, the terrible earthquake. And it did get a lot worse. My imagination had failed me at that moment. And so I think Haiti has been in a lot of people's thoughts. I think so. So when this opportunity came to come back, I realized I'd sort of left part of my heart here. So I was eager to come back.
It was at the United Nations where Mia and I first met more than a decade ago. I was 15 years old.
Speaking to our ambassador to the UN.
Since then, we've worked together many times. We didn't plan it, but we arrived in Haiti in the midst of a political crisis. In late November, the country voted in an election widely criticized as fraudulent. In spite of international monitoring, there are allegations of corruption, vote buying, and ballot stuffing. Tonight, people gather around the radios, anxiously waiting for election results. It's dangerous to be out on the streets of Port-au-Prince after dark at the best of times, but we need to find out what we can expect in the days to come. We can't show their faces, but keeping watch in the crowd, armed bodyguards, just in case. Erin Barton-Sherry runs the operations in Haiti for Free the Children, along with her husband, Luca. I speak French, but Erin is fluent in Creole, the language of the country. I rely on her and Luca to help me understand what's happening. 19 candidates campaigned for president. The two with the most votes will face a runoff election on January 16th. When the announcement comes that Haiti's former First Lady, Madame Manigat, has captured first place and will face Jude Celestien, the candidate from the ruling party, the crowd goes from surprise to anger to fury. They weren't expecting this. These people live on the streets or in the slums and in the tent cities of Port-au-Prince. Their candidate is the popular singer Michel Martelly, better known as Sweet Mickey. They feel robbed.
And they say they're going to block the streets, they'll take to the streets, they'll ride the streets until they get the result. We're going to lutter, we're going to fight. That's what the result they're looking for. And they said we want our votes to be counted. There will be certainly trouble tomorrow. Yeah, no, in the streets. We're going to have a hard time moving around, but I don't think they're going to wait for tomorrow. We're going to have trouble in the streets tonight.
Early the next morning, Mia is coming with me. We load up and drive out onto the streets to see what's happening. We don't know what to expect. There are reports of violent protests and gunshots overnight. It's not long before we spot the first signs of trouble.
They've already started the protest up in that side, where they've started to gather. The UN trucks, of course, rolling just a few seconds ago right in front of us. Our biggest concern is just making sure we don't end up in a part of the city we can't get out of.
Right. Candidates should all unitedly get together and call for calm. Isn't that what we would do?
I would love if that happened, absolutely.
Delma is the main street of Port-au-Prince. It looks like a war zone. Martelly supporters have set tires on fire to block the road. But people aren't threatening us. They're angry over an election they believe was stolen from them. We decide to follow the crowd.
Brazilian UN. This is the biggest force in Haiti is the Brazilians.
Mia's here to see with her own eyes, but also to document what's happening in Haiti. An accomplished photographer, she'll post these images on her website for the world to see.
What do you think of what happened here today?
It's wrong what they did to us, okay? Because the people, we voted for Michel Martelly, okay? And then they gave us, I think, Jude Celestien, okay? Or Madame Manigat. We didn't want them. We wanted Sweet Mickey, okay? That's who we wanted. That's why we are here today, okay? Showing them that we don't like what they did.
What do you think will happen now?
I don't know. Because the people, they're not gonna stop until they get what they voted for.
The UN has almost 12,000 uniformed personnel in Haiti, including police. The soldiers stand by, armed and ready, but do not intervene as people vent their frustration. They're there to keep the peace. But at this point, Port-au-Prince feels like a tinderbox about to erupt. Haiti may be on the brink of another disaster, this one man-made.
Next,
She's going to show you where she lives.
running on hope while fighting back the despair.
She says that they cry themselves to sleep.
A heart-wrenching existence for families in Haiti.
We're people too, but we're living like animals.
When CTV's W5 continues.
These people want a change. They want to be heard. But turmoil is not what this country needs now as it struggles to rebuild after what is one of the worst natural disasters in modern history. The mood on the street is angry. The faces in the crowd tell the story of Haiti. It's a country of young people. Half the population is under 16. There are no jobs for them, no future. They're disillusioned, disenfranchised, and desperate.
Bonjour.
Surprisingly, we run into a young woman I've met before.
Mia?
Mia.
20-year-old Sheila. She and her friends all lost their homes in the earthquake.
So she left her house and came up and joined the demonstration as it was coming up the Delma.
Why?
To demonstrate. To support her of Martelly.
Did you cast a ballot?
What?
Okay.
The girls decide they've had enough. Not sure this protest will stay peaceful.
It could go huge and it could go away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sheila offers to take us home to the place where she and her friends now live.
You know, the irony is that the political demonstrations are going on and they're literally trying to rebuild their lives. So that's extraordinary to still stand away.
The human spirit.
Yeah.
As we leave the demonstration behind, we pass by the mayor's office. Protesters have torched the vehicles.
Wow, some serious burning.
Absolutely.
It seems senseless, but frustration fuels the urge to get the government's attention, even if it's with a match. We arrive at the Atomeka refugee camp. Sheila takes us to her home. She wants us to meet her mother, Anne-Marie.
Mia.
Mia, this is Anne-Marie.
This is her mother.
Bonjour. Bonjour. And this is Sheila's mom.
Oui, ok, merci.
Anne-Marie invites us to sit down in her tent, where as many as 10 family members spend each night. She wants to tell us her story.
She used to have a small commerce, a small micro business, and it was doing very well, and she was able to support her family with that. At the time of the earthquake, there was fire in the market, and everything was lost. And then what she had left, thieves came and stole all of her money, and so she had very little. And she talked about how much she worked and worked and worked her whole life, and then to lose it all in a day was so hard. And now it's just people that know them well, some passers-by, that they get a little bit of money from to be able to eat.
What is she most worried about at this point today?
The biggest problem that they have right now is that they don't have a president. When money has fallen into the hands of Haitian government, there hasn't been any distribution, and she's never got anything.
Tu as de l'eau. Croix-Rouge prend de l'eau. So you have water. So far, they're the only really ones that we're seeing much of. De nourriture? No food. They don't bring food. Est-ce que...
A long time ago.
Nous te qu'on vivre là car nous bien bon, bien belle, bien frais. Nous va t'apprendre là.
She used to live in a 3-story house, and now living in this condition, it breaks her, she says.
C'est Monuyer?
Oui,
We're people too, but we're living like animals.
Anne-Marie is 60 years old, and she's starting over. Almost a full year after the earthquake, her family still lives in this cramped and squalid refugee camp, fending for themselves. Water is provided, but today even the water is shut off. The alleys between the tents are so narrow, you can hardly get around. Winding our way through the tent city, we attract a lot of attention. Because of the demonstrations, there's no school today, and the children are curious.
Craig, très bien. Et comment l'y Mia, très bien.
Ah, très belle. Où est-ce que tu vis ici? Par là? Est-ce que tu peux montrer Mia?
Oui.
On peut aller? Okay. She's going to show you where she lives.
Okay. You want to
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Où, ici ou ici? Ici? Okay, on peut aller.
Their father was a mechanic before the earthquake. He was injured, and now there's no work.
Où est-ce que c'est ton maison ici? Oh, here. Oh, parfait. Ici. So you're at his home. Welcome to his home, he says.
Thank you, thank you.
He tells us this is no place to raise children. He wants a real house again, but he has no means, no money.
One time I saw someone. C'était de quel groupe? Red Cross. Yeah. Est-ce qu'il vient tous les jours?
Non, pas de moi. T'es donné un peu là.
They gave me a tarp.
It's appalling that so few organizations, we can't even say few, so only one organization has come around. How much money have people given to a variety of organizations?
Sheila wants to show us her old neighborhood and what used to be her family's 3-story home. They were middle class by Haitian standards, but now...
C'est complètement détruit, oui? Wow, it's completely destroyed. Est-ce qu'il y a des personnes qui sont blessées? Oui, okay, she was hurt. Mais pas de personnes à mourir ici. No one died here.
Bonjour. Is it okay to take a photo of the class?
It is, but what is it about?
We are with the Free the Children humanitarian organization, and to see the child learning in the middle of this situation, it's inspiring.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, thank you.
It's all right.
What do? You speak perfect English.
As you see, I just graduated from high school. I used to work for some international organizations, yeah.
What do you want to do?
Bunch of things, but here we don't have a lot of choices.
Right.
I wish in the future I could find an opportunity to study. I would like to become a psychiatrist or a psychologist, even a social worker. I think that is very needed here. And watch out, because things are really, really dangerous here, The people, or the majority of the people, don't like the results of the elections.
Right. Well, my name is Mia.
I'm Pierre.
I'm Pierre. All the best of luck to you.
As we leave, we meet one of Sheila's neighbors, Florence. She stayed here after the earthquake. The walls of her home are gone. Like many of her neighbors, this mother is literally camping out on the exposed roof with her 3 children. They sleep right here under these sheets.
Quand il y a pluie?
Oui. She says they just tie it up here.
Surrounded by garbage and open sewers.
Petit doit aller à l'école? Oui. Her children do go to school. Comment voyez-vous? How do you send them?
Escompte-moi. Je prends escompte-moi le mois. De $500 escompte le mois.
She's taken a loan, and it's a loan from a loan shark. She borrows from one, and then she borrows from another to pay that one, to pay that one, to pay that one. So she's living off of credit to be able to pay her children's school. And she, $2,000 in total she took, and she has to pay $500 back each month. Otherwise they come and it could get violent.
And is she able to pay it back?
Et ou toujours gain petit moyen pour payer $500 ça, ou bien c'est l'autre escompte ou point pour payer?
Oui, t'as comme prendre en main, me paye ça, me prendre en main l'autre là, me paye.
Borrowing from Peter to pay Paul kind of situation. So she was a walking merchant, with a bucket on her head full of soap and cosmetic products that women like, but it was a loan that she had used to purchase it all, and when the earthquake came, everything was lost, and she wasn't able to repay the loan. So it's been really difficult. She can't get restarted.
And the obvious question she must wonder is what happens when the payments come due from all of them.
Et si tout escompte, tu finis dans la même date ou bien you vient demander quoi, qu'est-ce que tu as fait? She said I'd ask for more time.
We meet one of Florence's sons.
His mom is one strong lady, and she's sending her kids to school, and she's doing what she has to do.
But when her other little boy comes up on the roof, the heartbreaking reality of Haiti, almost 1 year after the earthquake, really hits home.
She said he's hungry. Kila no te mangé? What's the last time you ate? This morning she had coffee.
What are the kids going to eat tonight?
Est-ce que tu m'as mangé à soir?
L'aime bien, l'aime pas bien. She says, when I have money, I give them. Parfois, je dois aller à crier, m'acheter un petit sirop mbalo, pour pas crier, pour qu'elle dormir. She says that they cry themselves to sleep, so she gives them medication so they can just go to sleep, even though they're hungry.
Next, closer to the epicenter. Cries of anger, portraits of survival.
He lost his family, he lost his house.
And a dire struggle against time.
One day left. And then you're out of food here.
Yeah.
When CTV's W5 continues.
Welcome back. We've seen the chaotic state of life in Haiti, where a year after the earthquake, violence and suffering prevail. It's a country where 1.5 million people are still homeless. And we followed Craig Kielburger and Mia Farrow through the refugee camps where children often go without school, food, and even water. As you're about to see, perversely, it's the children who are living in orphanages who are often considered the lucky ones. Here again is Craig Kielburger with Haiti's agony.
It's early morning.
Last night, very quiet. There were no protests last night at all.
There's still rocks strewn around. People are just hanging around.
We're leaving the political unrest in Port-au-Prince and heading towards the suburb of Carrefour to a boys' orphanage supported by Free the Children. I was last there immediately after the earthquake.
It's a week later and there's still aftershocks. Everyone, of course, goes running, trying to get far away from the buildings in case any of the walls fall.
Hundreds of children who had lost their families in the disaster just showed up, seeking refuge from the little brothers of the Incarnation. They were traumatized children sleeping everywhere.
I remember we pulled up that night laden with supplies, offloading food, water, fuel for the generators, to see their stock warehouse quite literally barren.
Now, a year later, we're going back to see those children. But first, we have to get there. Once again, our plans have been thrown off by the street demonstrations following the disrupted election results. I've made this drive dozens of times. The street is always jammed with vehicles and pedestrians. Today, it's empty, littered with remnants of burning tires and burnt-out cars. We're the only vehicles on the road. It's eerie. The only thing we encounter is roadblock after roadblock.
What did they say?
They say they haven't eaten since yesterday, and they say, give me something. I say, oh, when I back, I give something.
The infrastructure of Haiti has come to a standstill. The airport, schools, banks, government offices, public transportation all shut down. We need gas. The station is closed, amid fears the protesters could use the gas to set fires. But Haitians are masters of improvisation.
There's a very creative guy doing a brisk business saying, well, this is closed, but I have a buddy who's got some petrol in the back of his house. You can buy it and then pour it in. We are very lucky to get the gas here today. The gas is something that gets brought in from DR, Dominican Republic, via land. And if it wasn't for the good luck of people helping us out, our cars would be going nowhere.
A little further up the road, we pass more overturned dumpsters and burnt-out vehicles. Then, as we near the legendary slum of Cité Soleil, another roadblock.
Okay, man. Say, don't film. Put it down, he said, put it down.
We turn off the camera.
It's incredibly frustrating to see people swarm the car, upset, angry, wanting to know why we were there, wanting to know, why we had brought a camera into this situation.
When the mob finds out they're on our way to the orphanage, people calm down. and actually help clear the road for us. They're not upset with us. They're angry at a government. They're angry at the promises of help that never came. We meet a police truck. The officers unexpectedly begin to escort us past the barricades.
The extraordinary Luca here just spent the past few minutes negotiating to move roadblocks to get us through. And a police group came up behind us, and we're now hitchhiking to the back of them and serving as a quasi-police escort to get us to where we need to go, which is Carrefour, which is an orphanage we help to support. The police out in full force, guns in hand, quite literally. I'd love to say that we've never seen this before in Haiti. Sadly, we have.
At last, we arrive at the Carrefour orphanage. Brother Jeff has been anxiously waiting for us.
I'm okay. Good. So we are very happy because the streets are very, very, very bad with the trouble politics. I see you take the risk for coming here. And I think the children will be happy for that.
The teachers couldn't make it here because of the situation on the streets. The 400 boys who live here are not in school today, and because the banks are closed, the brothers haven't been able to buy supplies. The orphanage is running low on food.
How many more days do you still have of food? Combien de jours reste de nourriture ici?
Okay, for one day. One day
left.
More.
And then you're out of food here.
Yeah.
But Brother Jeff has faith that things will somehow work out, and he wants to show Mia around.
Tu prends soin de les plus difficiles cas dans beaucoup de cas. He takes care of the hardest. These are young boys who have been on the streets for years, in many cases, who, because of that, are used to setting their own life, their own rules, and come into a center, and he never says no to any child.
The building, so you can see some feature.
Because of the damage to the dormitories, many boys still live in tents a year after the earthquake. It's been said that Haiti is a country of orphans. There were 300,000 orphans before the earthquake. Another 200,000 after, 500,000 children left to fend for themselves. Brother Jeff introduces us to one of his young charges. Willie was buried in the rubble for 15 days. He still shows signs of trauma. He no longer speaks, but the brother still sees hope.
Now he make a lot of progress.
15 days though trapped in rebel to survive. C'est miracle.
He lost his family, he lost his house, so he was the only survivor person in the house.
To honor the visitors from Free the Children and the American actress Mia Farrow, the boys have planned a special performance in the cafeteria. But Willie will not go inside to any building. He doesn't feel safe.
Today, I want to welcome in the name of all the children, Mia.
This is a big day. Some of the boys have formed a rap group. They perform songs that they've written and somehow managed to record. Their clothes donated by Air Canada. Until they came here, these boys were street kids, born and raised in the slums of Port-au-Prince. They've never owned a television, let alone been to a movie.
You're a great singer. Yes. You're going to be famous.
They really have no idea that with them is a real live movie star, an international celebrity who has achieved that fame and fortune these kids dream of. A celebrity who uses her stature to further humanitarian causes and to help children all around the world. The group proudly presents a signed poster to their visitor as a gift to remember them by.
This is such a treasure. Oh my gosh.
For the first time in days, a feeling of joy.
People have dreams. They will be educated, and they can actually step out from here and, claim a life. So here's not only physically a refuge from all that violence, but a place for kids who have no home to sustain hope, get educated, be fed, and truly cared for.
As sad as it seems, for these boys living in the orphanage, it's the best possible life they could hope for right now.
Wow, Kevin, it's extraordinary. Bravo. Dump truck.
They're safe and nourished. And here they can be children. Behind these high walls, these children are away from the dangers on the streets. They don't have a family, but they have each other. Anderson is just 2 years old, the youngest here by far. His mother was injured in the earthquake. She begged the brothers to take him in. 15-year-old Toto has taken little Anderson under his wing. The two are inseparable. The orphanage will give these boys a chance. The future is uncertain, but they will face it together.
Next, a remarkable oasis amidst the ongoing despair.
Off we go.
And just where is the money so much of the world gave to Haiti?
It's not being managed properly. It's not coming through.
When CTV's W5 continues.
From what we've seen as we've navigated the rubble of Port-au-Prince, we can't help but feel that foreign governments and international aid agencies have failed the people of Haiti.
I had heard that things had not significantly changed. There are tents, for sure, lots of tents, but there's nothing more than the tents. People are getting water, but it's not drinkable water. People are not being given any food, yet they are deprived of the means of making money to get food. So I don't know where apparently billions of dollars. I know that in America there were these telethons and numbers that you could even text in $10, and everybody, I think, who possibly could sent something. So where is it? It isn't evident in people's lives in Port-au-Prince, and that's where you want to see it, because that's where the most people are. It's not being managed properly. It's not coming through to the people. The people don't know where it is. They don't feel anyone's helping.
Until the political crisis is resolved, the money will sit in government bank accounts offshore, waiting to be dispersed. It's time to leave the demolished capital and to head to the interior, to the Central Plateau, where Free the Children has several projects on the go to improve and build new schools. 4 to 5 Haitians were living in poverty even before the earthquake. This is by far the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. But in the rural areas, things do seem a little bit better. At least people are able to eke out a meager living. Away from Port-au-Prince, they escaped the damage from the earthquake, but now they face another deadly disaster, cholera. This lake appears so calm and peaceful, but the water here is contaminated. People are afraid to eat the fish. An epidemic is ravaging an already shattered country. We're bringing supplies on behalf of Free the Children for the regional hospital in the town of Ange, with much more coming. We have a few things to drop off, catheters, needles, some rehydration salts and whatnot. Où est-ce qu'on peut mettre ces choses?
Okay, on va remettre ça à l'administrateur.
Parfait.
That's the heavy one.
That is the heavy one. We have the $2.8 million shipment coming in at the end of the month. It's all cholera medication.
Je vais vous montrer un peu comment ça fonctionne.
We're going to show a little bit how this actually works. The chief of staff here, Dr. Prince, tells us there was no way to predict the number of patients showing up. With no space to quarantine them, these tents became the cholera ward.
Nous avons reçu 3509 patients.
3,509 cholera cases.
29 morts.
Would say only 29 deaths out of more than 3,000, 3,500 who have been treated.
On a eu les morts au début.
Most people who died at the beginning of the epidemic.
C'est parce que c'était la première fois qu'on faisait l'expérience.
The first time that we've ever seen cholera here, we didn't know what to deal with.
Les Haïtiens et les médecins cubains ne maîtrisaient pas.
The Haitian and the Cuban doctors who've been working here have never seen this before.
Et aussi, la santé publique n'avait pas encore fait une campagne d'éducation.
And there wasn't education to the public, so it was spreading so quickly at that point, people didn't know what to do.
Maintenant, nous recevons beaucoup moins de cas.
Now we've had
grâce au travail
more cases, but thanks to the education they've received.
Et aussi, nous maîtrisons beaucoup mieux la maladie. Les gens arrivent.
We know what to do. We have precautions when they come in. We know how to treat them more effectively.
Et on a beaucoup moins de morts.
We have fewer deaths.
People are being saved, but the epidemic is far from over. Across the country, 20,000 people have been treated, and more than 2,500 have died. There is no sign of it slowing down. Cholera is here to stay.
Dr. Prince said he had made a public plea to all the candidates to postpone the election until after the cholera epidemic. He feared that there would be outbreaks of violence. He feared what we're now seeing, the airport is shut down. He has 2 weeks left of medication for his patients. What happens if the airport doesn't reopen? What happens if he runs out of medication? How many people will die? Once again, the people are the victims.
A young resident shows us the old church that has been converted into a convalescent ward.
So people here will be leaving in 12 hours.
Yes.
So this is a room that, although it's very quiet, is a bit of a celebration in a small way.
Yeah.
Because these are the lucky ones.
Yes.
That's making good use of a church.
At last, a small ray of hope. These patients will be going home. Finally, I want to show Mia the work Free the Children is doing in this region.
These are your kids.
Bonjour. Bonjour. We pay a visit to Terre Cassée, a school we've completely refurbished since the earthquake.
The first time that we constructed the school, the kids wouldn't go onto the second level because they were so afraid.
More than 50 of the children here are displaced, rescued from Port-au-Prince. The rest are local children.
Here, I'll help you. It's fine.
Combien d'éducateurs qui enseignent ici? There's 17 educators who teach here.
C'est bon?
The earthquake wiped out the education system in the urban areas, damaging or destroying some 5,000 schools.
I'm always amazed how smart these kids are. So try your hardest question and let's see if they succeed.
You got it. Excellent.
This little girl comes from the town of Jacmel. Her school collapsed, and so she was brought here. Cindy hasn't been back to see her family since the earthquake. Still, she's happy here. And when we talk about her future, we know we're on the right track.
Je viens ici.
Since the earthquake has happened, I've come here to this school, and I'm in the 5th grade. My favorite subject, what I love most, is mathematics. Et qu'est-ce que vous voulez faire quand vous êtes plus grand?
Je peux aider les enfants.
Well, I want to help children. Comment est-ce que tu veux aider les enfants?
Je peux faire des écoles.
Tu veux construire des écoles?
Yeah.
Tu veux construire des écoles?
Yeah.
She says, when I'm older, I want to build schools. That's how I'm going to help children. Tu veux construire des écoles comme ça? Oui. Avec 2 niveaux?
Oui.
Ou plus?
Petit.
Plus petite. But my schools will be smaller, she says. Mia and I are struck by the contrast between Ainches and Port-au-Prince, where the schools are closed. City children deprived of their only refuge. After all the suffering we've seen in Haiti, we're going to end our visit with a celebration. The Deux Palais Girls' Orphanage is run by the Little Sisters of the Incarnation, nuns from the same order as the brothers we support in Carrefour. The children here before used to be mostly street children or abandoned girls. Now, most of them who arrive are orphans from the earthquake. 400 children go to school here, half of them orphans from Port-au-Prince. We've come to open a new school built by Free the Children in partnership with the nuns.
So we're so excited to be here in Deux Palais on such an exciting day to open the brand new school. The 3 blocks completed, 4 blocks to build, 700 students to have this opportunity. So merci à vous tous.
As we head off to the new site, the kids are a little overly excited.
It is the most exciting day that Ainches has seen in a very long time when a new school gets opened.
The sisters quickly restore order. The opening ceremony begins with a benediction.
Amen.
Mia, we're so proud to have you here with us on this very special day. You're a great friend of both Free the Children Enfants as well as the Little Brothers and Little Sisters. Now you're a friend of all of us.
Thank you. Please tell them how honored I am to be here with all of you students at this magical moment.
And then it turns into a party.
He has amazing students. They're incredible, but my favorite is her. The school is more than a school, it's a campus. So it's going to house 700 students when it's finished. 3 blocks you can already see behind us. It stretches in an L shape. In the evenings, will become the first ever university in the area, is the dream. And it just keeps building in and out. It'll be serving mostly children who are orphaned, who are coming in from Port-au-Prince into the all-girls orphanage, which is a short 2-3 minute walk from here. It's a huge deal. Because of this school being built, the previous school, the old school, will now be converted fully into an orphanage to welcome hundreds of girls right now in Port-au-Prince that are being turned away from the orphanages. For kids who have lost everything because of the earthquake, their family, their chance at school, this is a chance at a new start. Tu peux souvenir de Mia.
Tagging along with you, frankly, has been gratifying because here I see what you're doing. You know, here we are on the set of a school that Free the Children is putting up. This makes me feel good.
Construction is already underway on new classrooms. The school, run by the nuns but paid for by Free the Children, is the model for long-term development. We're investing in these children's futures.
The future of this country is Haitians. Free the Children's been here 10 years, supporting Haitians who have been here for generations. Long after the media cameras leave, long after the NGOs leave, long after we're gone, it's going to be Haitian organizations that rebuild this country. And that's where the support needs to go.
Before the earthquake, there were signs that Haiti was moving towards a more promising future. Now that dream is shattered, along with the poorly built homes and schools. It's not just the buildings that are broken. The system is broken. The Haitian government, the international aid community, and the people themselves must find a way to bring stability to this country. If they don't, it's hard to see how Haiti will ever rise from the rubble, at least in these children's lifetime.
After the earthquake, Canadians donated $220 million to help Haiti rebuild. The federal government matched that and then some, committing $550 million in total. While some of that money went to immediate aid, much is still waiting for Haiti's chaos to subside before it goes to the people in need. W5 will be right back. Welcome back. And that is W5 for this week. Remember, you can also find us online at w5.ctv.ca. There you can learn more about our stories. You can watch them again and contact us via email. You can also follow us on Twitter. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. Until next week, on behalf of all of us, I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Thank you for watching.